Delighted to say we're joined now by the man whose departure from Crystal Palace started what appears to be a domino effect in the Premier League. He's our former colleague, of course, here at TalkSport as well. Very good morning to Neil Warnock. Hi, Neil.
Morning, Danny. Morning, Brian.
Yes, so first of all, I suppose I have to say commiserations on what's happened to you. First of all, before we look back at your time overall at Crystal Palace, how did you learn that the adventure was not to continue?
It was really sudden on the Sunday morning, a phone call late on in Sunday morning, just before I was leaving to go to QPR. And the chairman just said that. And, it did come as a shock, I must admit, at the time. It was, as things have panned out, it's not as much as a shock now as it was. But, that's how it went.
I mean, you'd had a bad-looking scoreline in the defeat to Southampton. Had you any inkling that the chop was coming, Neil?
No, I think, looking back, it's probably the first opportunity that they've actually had to do what they've done, really, because. Yeah, I mean, away from home, we've been super. You saw us at Tottenham, didn't you?
Were you by far the better team on the day?
I thought we were. And at Swansea, after the first 15 minutes, we did well. We missed a glaring chance at 0-0 at Old Trafford, which would have changed. And at West Brom, I think the two Clattenburg errors cost us 3 points there. So we've done well away from home. At home, we had the great win against Liverpool, but the Villa and Sunderland were disappointing because we dominated the games, and Sunderland could have been different if we'd have got that first minute penalty. But other than that, the pitch has been terrible at home, and everybody says about the home record, but it's been, when you come on it and play once like the away teams do, it's not bad mentally, psychologically, but at home, we've kept it back really because we've had so many we've been reported by every team in the Premier League. And that's why it's being ripped up as we talk now. And at least Alan's not got that problem. But mentally, the lads, they couldn't do the kilometres that they've done away from home. They were miles short, and especially our wide players, which is our threat. Balazi, Puncheon, Wilfred, Zaha. Yeah. It was like running on sand at times, and so it has hampered them. And that will change now. And I still don't think they're far away. All we wanted is a striker and a left-sided defender, and we've been looking for them for quite a while now. But if I'm honest, Ronnie Jepson said to me when I went in to just get my desk tidied, he said, "Gaffer, they've got somebody else. Yeah, it can't come as quick as that." And I suppose in Premier League football, they go over a matter of weeks. I know the chairman's known Alan well, and you laugh at this. But Danny, when we were at Newcastle first game, Alan was getting so much stick there, and I remember pulling him after the game. I'm sure he'll remember, and saying, "This is the club for you. This is your next club." Because I've always been there on a short term. I know we've said 2 years and things like, but I've not got to. I only wanted this season to try and help them stabilise after such a terrible blow when Tony left and they lost the first 2 games heavily, and there were no standout candidates. Danny, and I said to the chairman then, you might as well put me in charge and then wait for one that comes that's going to take the club on. And this is it. I think Alan's a great appointment. I think he'll be given a long contract, which is needed, because the infrastructure at Palace is very poor, Premier League-wise. And he'll get the time to clear to bring certain.
What do you mean by that, Neil?
The training ground's not in a very good situation. They're really doing as best they can to try and get another training ground. We thought we had one a few months ago, but that fell through. And chairman's working really hard to try and get another training ground. And the pitches, we're having a problem up there with the pitches as well. So it's not a very good at the moment training wise. And it just needs, when you look at the Premier Leagues, they've all got the facilities, etc. But I think they can do it, in the next 2 or 3 years, because Alan will steady it. We talk about staying up. I think he'll know the striker he wants and the left-sided lad, and I think they can finish as high as they did last year, maybe, because there's only been 25 minutes in the second half against Southampton, and probably 20 minutes against Man City where we haven't been in a game this year. And quite honestly, you've seen how we played at Tottenham. We've had chances like that most games, Danny, and we just can't take them. And then we've been punished at home with mistakes. And one of the lads had a bad time against Southampton for 10 minutes in the second half, and we got punished then. But
Neil, all the extraneous factors aside, when you look in the mirror, are you happy that you did a good enough job?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, you're not going to say no anyhow, are you?
No.
Yes, you could have done. I mean, Southampton game, I actually changed the tactics just for that particular game because of the way that Southampton were going to play. We hadn't scored at home. We never looked like scoring at home. So I thought, well, we've nothing to lose against Southampton. But I was convinced that we could go to QPR and win, having the way that we were playing and the system that we played against them. So I was disappointed not to go to QPR. You know, I've never said goodbye to their fans, and similar situation really up to Christmas, similar position, and not really. What's really gutting is not being able to bring the players in that you want because.
Yeah.
In both clubs, I actually didn't get much chance to bring players in, before the end of the first window.
Well, I noticed listening to your interviews after the last few fixtures, you've been making the point about transfer windows approaching and the fact that Crystal Palace do not have a striker who is liable to turn all their good approach play, as you say, from the wide players, Punchin, Zaha, Wilfred and Balassi, into goals. The problem is, it seems to me that strikers are a very expensive commodity. Do you think Crystal Palace want to spend the kind of money that will bring a striker that might save them in the Premier League?
Well, I think he will with Alan now. He's got.
Well, what have you done with you, Neil?
Well, it's difficult. It's difficult to get your transfer to. We've talked. I mean, the problem is the chairman trying to do everything. He's into the club, and since Ian Moody left, I thought he was going to replace him, but it never got round to that because once again there were no real outstanding candidates, and so he's took a lot more on his plate, and he will have to delegate, I'm sure. And but Alan will know all the bits and bobs, and it will take a lot off him because Alan's a good manager, and I think in the circumstances it's beneficial for everyone, at Newcastle as well, because they'd lost 3 or 4 games, or they'd lost 3 games again before last weekend, and Alan must have been thinking, here we go again. So I think it's great for him to go to London. Personally, I would have liked the chairman or somebody to say, look, we've got a chance of getting Alan Pardew. Do you mind stepping down or something like that? And it wouldn't have been a problem with me.
I was going to say, Neil, it's look, from what you're saying, you and I work together enough. I don't need to beat around the bush here. And we're not letting any cats out of bags here. It's clear that they've spoken to Alan Pardew. It's clear that he's keen to come to Crystal Palace if a deal can be done. And so you're on your way. How does that make you feel, Neil, the fact that these things go on behind the backs, not just of you, but of every Premier League manager?
I've done it the other way as well. Everybody, that's life. That doesn't really bother me because I had the opportunity and it was great to go back to Palace. And I think I can hold my head up the way that we've played with what we've had, with the tools at my disposal. Every manager makes mistakes, but I think we've given them a fighting chance. And I think when Alan does bring the 1 or 2 players in, they've got a hell of a chance. Sorry about that. What they said is, I heard 1 or 2 interviews with 1 or 2 influential people around the club who get paid a bit of money, but I think one of them was the crowd had a right go at me. Listen, Danny, I would have had a go at me taking Balassi off our best player when you're losing 3-0.
Why did you do that, Neil?
Well, it's funny because his wife's having a baby. He's had a couple of bad nights. And it was 15 minutes to go. We're losing 3-0. We got QPR in 48 hours. And I was going to take somebody off, actually. And Keith and Ben at the side of me said, why not save Balassi's legs? And I thought, well, yeah, they're probably right with his missus and all that lot. So that's what happened. And then, of course, there was only still not thousands and thousands like everybody makes out. It was just a group which I would have shouted the same, but because without knowing what's what. But overall, the Palace fans have been fantastic with me, and even coming off at the end of the game, there were no abuse like that. So I have no problem with Palace fans, and I think QPR fans are the same. Wherever I go, I know that we get on well, and I think that's the plus for Palace. The fans are unbelievable, and for QPR. So I think in the fight for survival, I think we'll have miles more than anybody else. I can even see them going up as high as what they did last year, maybe 11th, 12th with Alan.
And Neil, I was just remarking that with your departure, and let's say that Alan Pardew does go. People who've been in the jobs in the Premier League for a couple of seasons are now the sort of second and third most long-serving managers behind Arsene Wenger, of course, who defies all odds at the Arsenal. I mean, you've now been back in management at the top level for another 6 months. Is it almost an impossible job now, Neil? Because nobody gets more than 9 or 10 months to make any impact.
that's why you've got to be in front of everything. That's why you look at Alan coming now rather than waiting. I know somebody said he's got another 3 or 4 years. You've got to be in front of it as a manager. You've got to be looking at when's the right time. And I've felt about Steve Bruce, like you said. I really, I looked at last year what he did, and I thought it can't happen again. And that's no disrespect to Hull. And if he does get offered the chance at Newcastle, then he'll have to take it. And then because it's just such an opportunity, and sometimes there's a time to move, and I think in Alan's case, and probably Steve's, the time is now, and I think Tim Sherwood fits the bill that Jeremy looks for at West Brom. They're always looking for a coach type of thing, so I think it's just peppered it up, but I do believe that Palace are the best team in that bottom sort of 7 or 8 teams.
Neil, I notice now, and my colleagues, my junior colleagues through the glass, have pointed out your second favourite for the Glasgow Rangers job.
Oh my goodness! Well, I'm going
surely you'd want to go there, Neil.
Hey, listen, right? What I've done now is I've had that is a fantastic club, by the way. But I've watched 7 episodes of Downton Abbey in the last few days, and you miss out on things like that.
Oh, come off it, Neil! as if you would. I think you'd pass up Downton Abbey for Glasgow Rangers.
No. Hey, listen. Ray Parler's not got to worry about my Monday mornings. I was listening to the lads the other day. I do miss that. I had a great time with you guys, and also a vibrant company. BT Sport was super with me as well. So things are not all doom and gloom. I do enjoy what I'm doing. I've got a lovely family, and I appreciate the opportunity to steady the ship, because it did need steadying. Make no mistake, it was in a mess when I walked in, and now I think the club can move forward in every situation.
Okay, well, Neil, it's very good of you to come on and give us your latest feelings about what's happened to you in the last few days and weeks. I don't have any doubt that you'll be back doing something in football. If not, I expect to see your lovely hairy head here back at TalkSport.
Cheers, Derek.
Thank you very much indeed.
Game of Thrones, Neil. If you really want to occupy a lot of time, get the box sets of Game of Thrones. That'll take you a long time.
Unfortunately, Neil, with all the beheadings and things that happen there, it might remind you too much of football management. So I don't recommend that just at the present moment.
All right, lads. Thanks ever so much.